detained from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening.
Okay, so explain that. What was your first encounter with the police, and why did you have that encounter with the police? What have you done wrong?
Yeah, I came in my room, and my son's room was broken, and things scattered inside the rooms. We can't find our motorbikes and some of our items in the room. So I said they should wait. I didn't even go there close. I went back to the police station. When I went to Lamashogo station, they directed me to go to the headquarters. I went to the headquarters. They said I should go to the charge office. I went to the charge office. When I started the whole story, they hold me for more than 20 to 30 minutes.
The police, once they tell you you are under arrest, they must give you the reason for the arrest, and it must be a lawful reason that you committed this or that crime, for which reason, or you are suspected of having committed this or that crime. For that reason, you are under arrest. From that moment, you have to submit. That's what the law requires. Once he identifies himself as a police officer and tells you are under arrest, even if you believe in your heart of hearts that you are completely innocent, you still must submit.
That's right.
Once you fail to submit and tell the police, I will not comply, then the law allows the police to use force to subdue you. In this particular video, that may not be the case because the person was already subdued, and as you say, he had been handcuffed already. So then, from the professional policing point of view, once you've been able to put the person under arrest, either he submits, you haven't even handcuffed him, or you are able to handcuff him, that is even clear that you subdued him. Then, from that point, the police don't have any right under the law to use force any longer. The person who is being told that you are under arrest, he must submit.
Right.
And once you submit, then the police must handle you in a very civil manner. Now, the police can only use force to subdue you when you resist. And it can also be a perilous route. Depending on the type of resistance and the weapons you use to resist, it can escalate to the point where the police are justified in snuffing your life out. That is where your resistance gets to a level where the policeman's life is in danger. Either one of you are giving the policeman this option. One person must walk out. Either you walk out or I kill you. That kind of thing. The police must not be seen running. So then it escalates. And at that level, when it gets to a level where the policeman realizes that you are intent on taking his life, he may take your life then. So it is something that people must be aware of, that you don't need to resist when the police come to arrest you.
Right. And you had said earlier that even where you believe that you are innocent, you must still submit.
Exactly.
Why is that so?
It is a process. You believe you are innocent. The policeman, the law entitles him to arrest you when he has reasonable suspicion that you are guilty. He mustn't even be sure that you are guilty.
Right.
As long as he reasonably suspects that there is a reason for him to think that you are not innocent, then he can arrest you. So once he has something to believe that, look, you are a person of interest as far as this crime that has been committed is concerned, or that this crime that is about to be committed is concerned, you are a person of interest, the police can arrest you. You can be squeaky clean. You can be very, very innocent. In your heart, you know you are innocent. You must still comply.
Good afternoon and welcome to The Law. This is your Legal Lights. It's your health law. And as you know, here always we help to give you some education about the law for your personal use, use for your business, whatever. A bit of the law is important and significant to all of us. So last week, we treated the police acting unlawfully. That is, administering what they seem to say is punishment. And you saw in those videos there, we showed you the police together with NEDCO and some VRA officials in the northern region took the view that some people were connecting electricity illegally and went on an inspection tour. It was in that process that some individuals were manhandled. People in handcuffs were seen being whipped. And as you can see still in your shot, some of the police officers wielding whips. That is clearly unlawful. We shared with you various provisions of the Constitution, Articles 14, 15, and then 19 of the Constitution. Article 19 of the Constitution, the provision we shared with you basically is to the effect that all persons who are accused of a crime are to be presumed innocent. You are to be presumed innocent until you have been proven guilty by a court or you yourself have pleaded guilty to the offense or the charge that's been preferred against you. Article 14, the provision that we dealt with for you, also was to the effect or is to the effect that when you are arrested, restricted, or detained, you must be told in a language that you understand, why you are being arrested, restricted, or detained, and you should be told of your rights to a lawyer of your choice. And then you are not supposed to be kept for more than 48 hours by the police if they will not grant you bail. If they will not grant you bail within 48 hours, they are supposed to take you to a court of law and charge you for the court to process your bail. Yes, we have told you over and again that thanks to Martin Pebu, now bail, all offenses are bailable. There used to be offenses that were not bailable, like murder, high treason, narcotics, defilement, and the rest of them, hijacking, but all of these are now bailable. However, it always has to be said that bail is not at large. It is at the discretion of a court to determine whether you are to be granted bail or not granted bail. Despite the fact that the law says bail, every offense is bailable, a court still wields the power to make a decision whether you can be granted bail or you cannot be granted bail. And then Section 19, Article 19 of the Constitution, we simply brought you, Article 15 first. Article 15, we shared with you the portions that said that your dignity is inviolable. The dignity of every human person is inviolable. Nobody should violate your dignity. And it went forward to say that whether you have been restricted, detained, or arrested, you shall not be subjected to torture, cruel or degrading conditions, or acts that are likely to detract from your worth as a human being and your dignity. Right. Justine also explained that if they have to, search your premises, normally there's a need for a warrant, but there are circumstances in which they can search without a warrant. But the process must not be what we seem to see on what happened to the people in Tamale. Thank you once again. I'm Samson Ladi Anyanini. Let me welcome once again Justine Pawvra Terwaja, who is a private legal practitioner and a law lecturer. And today, we are not talking about the unlawful sanctions that the police met out to people in the name of punishment, because we have seen clearly in the Constitution, Article 15, it says that you cannot be punished by the police. Well, Justine explained that they can use reasonable force if they are seeking to arrest you and you resist the arrest. In fact, resisting arrest is also a crime, but they can use what is known as reasonable force. That's when you are resisting arrest. But if you surrender or you respect the instructions, they are not supposed to use any form of force against you. We noted that often it is the military and local authority guards who have been in violation of this provision of the Constitution that says nobody has power to pick a whip and whip you because you have done something wrong. They are not a court of law. Even a court does not pick a whip on you. So today, we are seeking to find out what sanctions can be meted out to officers, law enforcement officers, who breach the law, the Constitution, and other laws. Thank you once again for making time to join us. Justine? Great, I can see you. You're looking good. Hello, Justine? Okay, we have a bit of difficulty with this line. We are sorting it out and we will get back. Now, last week we discovered also that many of you wanted to ask questions, but time ran out on us. In fact, it's part of the reason we have this part 2, so to speak, sanctioning police indiscipline. So we will open the phone lines for you to call and send your messages as well. Ask your questions about your encounter with police or any law enforcement agencies, and where you think or you have come to discover after listening to us and watching us over this period, having learned of the law, and you feel that they have breached your rights or they have violated your dignity in attempt to arrest or conduct a search or whatever it is. Call, let's know what it is, and we will continue to give you the solutions. What you can do, sanctioning police indiscipline. Justine, let's see if you are good now. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Samson.
Great, great, great. And you are in a very clear sound, and I love the smoke.
Thank you.
Great. All right. So we have done just a bit of a recap of some of the very, interesting things you shared with us, the knowledge you shared with us last week. If you had the opportunity to recap on the question whether police can punish, what will be your recap briefly? Of course, we know it's not just police, but any law enforcement, agency.
Yes. Towards the end of the program last week, I made this point that in terms of rule of law has various meanings. One of the meanings of the phrase rule of law is that before punishment is administered to somebody, and in law, the punishment is called substantive justice. And before substantive justice is administered to somebody, then due process must lead the way to ensure that the person who is being punished deserves it. For one good reason. You see, our law has learned from the lessons of history. You see, I'll give a very good example that everybody knows. The case of Joseph in ancient Egypt. Now, Joseph was accused of trying to have some liberties with Potiphar's wife. Based on that accusation, he was thrown away straight from allegation to punishment. From allegation to substantive justice, which was jail. Now, we are told that he was blessed with interpretation of dreams and he came out. Else he would have just perished for no good reason. Now, for that reason, over the centuries and millennia, our law has been refined to ensure that you don't jump straight from allegation to punishment. So we have a difference between substantive justice and procedural justice. Procedural justice simply means a fair procedure must be used to establish the person's guilt before punishment will now be administered. And even the punishment to be administered must be in accordance with what the law says.
Right.
Because of that, the police come in only in respect of the procedural justice aspect, meaning they must use a fair procedure to ensure that the person's guilt is established. And it starts from arrest to gathering of evidence to presenting the person before court. In all of that, the police have no power to punish whatsoever because it's just a process.
Right. That's great. Very great summary. And the example of Joseph's encounter with Potiphar's wife is so good. So please, those of you who are watching us or listening to us by some form, remember that this is the cardinal principle. You don't just accuse, and because you have accused, you insist that they should keep the person in custody. People are accused and they are granted bail. And the people who made the complaint don't understand why they are granted bail. Say, well, we told you this person, we brought the person to you and you have granted them bail. No. That is why the law says the accused person is presumed innocent until they themselves have pleaded guilty to the accusation or they have been found guilty by a court of law. And by the time they would have been found guilty, the law says they will be afforded time, adequate time and facilities to defend themselves, either by themselves or defend themselves through the services of a lawyer. And when they are found to be guilty, then punishment will be meted out. And even that, like Justine has explained over and again, it is not the job of the police or any law enforcement body to be administering the punishment. The punishment will always be either you are paying a fine or you are paying a fine and in addition to that, you are going to jail. Right. Now, because many had questions to ask and we terminated prematurely, our time was up, some of them are already getting back to us. So we want to get to talk to them briefly before we get you to help us with how to report a police officer or any law enforcement officer at all who we feel has offended us in a way that is very obvious, like whipping people and so on and so forth. So you can call us 0302 211 691 0302 211 691 or 0302 211 692. Abdul, you're calling us from Amasaman. Yes, hear you. Let's hear you, Abdul.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I have two questions. My first question is, I just want to know whether I can search a policeman who is on in my room, who is about to ransack my room. So I just want to know whether I have the right to search the policeman before he enters my room. Second question, at which particular point do I defend myself against the policeman? I hope you are clear. Something.
You said at which particular point do you do what?
I said, at which particular point do I defend myself against a policeman?
Okay.
I want to know whether there's a point whereby I can defend Ghanaian or still can defend myself against a police force or a soldier or any of that sort.
All right. So when you say defend yourself, what do you mean by that?
Just in case whereby a policeman is misbehaving, he is not being forthright with the law. Yeah. All
right. Thank you, Abdul. Justine will help us to appreciate some answers. Theophilus, you're calling from Bupe. Hello, Theo. Hello, Theo.
Hello.
Yes, let's hear you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Samson.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my issue has to do with the police arresting you. Hello?
Go ahead.
My issue has to do with the police arresting you and asking you to remain silent because whatever you say will be used against you. Now, my issue is, how is it that if it's the truth, it will not be used for you, but rather against you?
Okay.
Why? Yeah.
Thank you very much. How is it that when they say you have a right to remain silent, otherwise whatever you say may be used against you, how come they do not say could be used in your favor? All right. Hussein, you are calling from Wenchi. Let's hear you. Hello, Hussein.
All right.
Hussein.
You are calling from Wenchi. Let's hear you.
Hello,
Put your volume off. I can get feedback.
Hello. Yes. I mean, listen.
Put your volume off and then listen to me directly.
Okay.
Hussein, you have to call back. And please, when you call, put your volume off or stay away from, making me hear from you directly. It doesn't help. So listen to me directly. Rauf, we are calling from Boka. Let's hear you, Rauf. Rauf. Okay, we still have that problem. When you are calling, listen to me directly on your phone. Don't listen through your gadgets or whatever medium by which you are watching the program. So we have lost Rauf from Boga. All right, let's begin to take some answers to the first two questions, Abdul, Inama Saman, and Theophilos. Yes, Justine, Abdul is asking, when a law enforcement officer is seeking to search my apartment or search me or my room, can I also search him first before he searches me?
The answer is no. You cannot search him, but you have a right to be with him every step of the way. He has the power to search, and as I explained the last time, he comes with authority of a court to search you or some other authority to search you, and the law gives him that right. But you do not have that right to search him. The only thing you can do is to monitor him closely to ensure that he does not plant things on you and then thereafter accuse you. So as he's going about it, you follow him. Even if you are a whole family, you follow him every step of the way. And the sheer fact that you are with him and watching what he does, it should be enough. Because once he brings the thing out, then you all see it, and it should put enough. That should be enough check on him.
Great. Let me take Bennett from Somia before we continue. And as you just heard, you don't have a right to ask to search the officer. What you have a right to do is to monitor what the officer or officers will do. And in this day and age of mobile phone and the rest of them, you have the right to record what is going on. So if they plant something on you, you will have the evidence that they planted it. It was not in your premises before they came, or it was not on you. Hello, Bennett from Somia. What's your question?
Thank you, Zena. Something. Mine is not a question, but I just wanted to add to what is happening. I think that if these officers are found as culprits in offending the public, there's nothing to do with them much. So we see them again, have not been dismissed, have not been punished. So that takes upon them that, even if I do this, nothing happens to me. If they go, they talk about it, or it went somewhere, and I wouldn't be dismissed. That is why. Hello, something.
I can hear you. Your point is made. You are saying that they treat them with kid gloves or something like that. The sanctions that are meted out to errant officers are not hefty enough, and that is why we have the situation growing. Wayo, you are calling us from Nungwa. Let's hear you, Wayo. Wayo from Nungwa.
Yes, please.
Your question, go ahead.
My question is about to the police concerning the way they handle road users in terms of driving license. When the policeman stops you, he just goes directly to ask you of your driver's license instead of watching through your boot and assess maybe your tires and windscreen and other things, but rather go directly to ask you about your driver's license without any accident scene. That's my question. And the police must be self-disciplined as well. Some of them are too much rudical towards the drivers.
Okay, Wayo, but if you follow that last week, you would have learned that the police have absolutely every right to demand to know if you are holding a valid driver's license. The law says you should keep your license on you, and that is for a purpose. If they stop you and ask you, where is your license, you simply show the damn thing. That's it. If you don't have a license, you have no business being on the road. Too many people are causing accidents and killing and maiming people because they are not qualified to drive. Apia, you're calling us from Atomic. Let's hear you, Apia. Apia, you're calling us from Atomic. Let's hear you.
Okay. Yes, I just want to ask.
Hello, Apia. Okay, so the lines are getting really jammed.
I'm calling from Akome, not Atome.
Where?
Hello? Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm calling from Akome, not Atome.
Go ahead. You are calling from Akome. Go ahead.
Yes. I just want to ask the gentleman that a country where police brutality becomes the order of the day, how do we term such a country when a police brutality becomes the order of the day? And they continue telling us that the police is our friend. How do we term such a country?
Okay. All right, so let me pause here and then we'll continue with the answers. On the question of search and what you can do when you are being searched, either your premises or your body, you have been giving the answer. The same Abdul, Justine, had asked the question, at what point can he defend himself against an officer who is conducting himself unlawfully against him?
Well, to say you are defending yourself against him, I think the question may have to be rephrased. What may be your remedies against him when he misbehaves?
Right.
Because in that particular case, the officer is having the backing of the state when he comes to you to arrest you, to search you, and all of that. In fact, our local people in Akan, they call him Abang. I mean, he has the government's backing to do what he's doing. So then, if he misbehaves against you, yours is to make a complaint against him so that it will be looked into. Because you see, some people sometimes complain against the police when the police are right, and they themselves are rather wrong, and they try to use that to get away. So then, just like the policeman must be fair to you, you too must be fair to the policeman. So then, when you have a complaint against the police, there is a unit called the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau. Now, they police the police, while the police polices the rest of the populace.
All right.
So it's the unit that polices the police.
That's nice.
So then, just like your neighbor does something against you which is criminal, you report him to the police for the police to investigate, and if it is true, he is charged and placed before court. When a policeman misbehaves against you, similarly, you make a complaint to the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, meaning you are reporting the police to the unit that polices the police. And then the matter is investigated. And when it is found out that it is not a bogus complaint to try to give the policeman trouble to leave you alone, if they realize that is not the kind of case, but it is a genuine case of misbehavior by the policeman, he is equally charged and made to face trial, which is an administrative disciplinary trial, at the end of which he may even be dismissed, he can be reduced in rank, he can be reduced. There is a whole range of punishments that can be given out to him depending on the seriousness of the misbehavior by the police officer. So he has the authority of the state, but it does not mean he can take the law into his own hands and do just anything. As I explained, it's about procedural justice. He's supposed to be fair with you, use a fair procedure to establish your guilt in court and gather the evidence.
All right.
So that.
So, like you have said, if the police comes, they announce themselves, I'm a police officer and I'm here to arrest you because you have committed XYZ offense. If the person comes and doesn't do these things and is just seeking to arrest me, like Abdul is asking, what am I supposed to do? Wait and come and report?
Now, for instance, if it tells you you are under arrest, you can ask for what reason. Well, he's supposed to even follow it up by telling you the reason for which he is arresting you. Now, but if he fails to or forgets to, you can insist, yes, I'm under arrest, I'm not resisting, but tell me the reason for my arrest. Tell me the usual things that a policeman must tell the person. You have a right to remain silent and all of that. So you can remind him that, look, what are you arresting me for? There's no cause for which you are arresting me. Tell me. And if he realizes he has no cause, he must leave you alone. And sometimes when the police are misbehaving and you let them know that you know your rights and that they are going contrary to the rules, and they should know that you will bounce back by reporting them to the unit that polices the police. Sometimes it makes some of them sit up. Okay. And they wear name badges and service numbers on their uniforms. So then, even if he comes to arrest you, you have a right to ask for his name. What's your name? Or you can take a snapshot of it on his chest. I'll get it, record it. Anyhow, let him know that you know his identity and he can't get away if he misbehaves. And that you know your rights. Sometimes it makes them sit up.
But there are times that people will say often, when you try to tell a law enforcement officer that you know the law, they rather become angry that you are trying to teach them what they should do.
Well, yes, there are such complexes among some of them, but it is wrong. It is wrong because the fact that you're a policeman does not mean you can just do anything and get away with it. Yeah, and sometimes they gauge the people. Sometimes when they think the person doesn't know his rights, they may be tempted to misbehave. They may tend to misbehave or may be tempted to misbehave. Now, when you let them know you are well informed and that you know that what they are doing is wrong. And of course, before you do that, you should also be sure that you know what you are saying. There are some people, during my days in the police service, there were some people who have some assumptions which are contrary to law, and then they argue based on those assumptions. And then it becomes a bit problematic. So just comply, but make sure that they do not overstep their bounds. And if they are, you remind them that no, you can report them for that.
Okay. You kept mentioning last week the word cooperation, cooperative, and that should always be at the back of our mind. But when we can detect clearly that our rights are being violated, we should stand up to our rights. But there is something also in the law known as wrongful arrest, which the law says we can resist.
That's very true. Now, if the policeman does not give you the reason for your arrest and he just tells you are under arrest, he's going contrary to the law. He must tell you why he's arresting you. And imagine it comes, you are being invited to a police station. You say, okay, it's an invitation, you go, I'll come. And then he tries to manhandle you because you are not ready to comply. That one is an unlawful arrest. So once the police follow the standard protocol to arrest you, then it becomes a lawful one. But when it's unlawful, it's when they put the law aside and do their own thing.
Right. And as you mentioned last week also, when they put the law aside, they're putting themselves in danger because the system will not support them when some action is being taken against them. Now, I'd like to take Justice from Techiman and Osman from Laura so that we can continue. Please do not pick further calls for me until we are done with exhausting the questions that are pending. So let's deal with Justice from Techiman and Osman from Laura. Hi, Justice.
Yeah, hello, something.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the human job you are doing to help Mother Ghana. My question is, in case you are apprehended by a policeman and for whatever reason the policeman starts manhandling you, you have every right as a culprit to assault him back in defense of yourself. Hello, something.
I hear you clearly. Thank you very much for your question, and it comes up, so we'll deal with that. We lost Osman. In place of Osman, Sani from Tamale. Hello, Sani. Let's hear you.
Hello, Samson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, Samson, my problem has to do with the police-civilian relationship. Now, the point is, we are told that the police are supposed to be our friend. And now you see something, a crime going on somewhere, or you think there are people involved in some nefarious activity, which is not lawful. And you find a policeman, inform him or her, and the next moment, that person gets wind of where the information is coming from. What right do I have as a citizen to take against the police officer? Thank you, Samson.
Thank you very much. The issues of police blowing the cover of their sources sometimes. We'll deal with that. Okay, so now, Justine, we'll get to Theophilus, who was the second caller. He asked the question, if the police is arresting you and they read out your Miranda rights to you, how come they say that you should be mindful that whatever you say can be used against you? Rather, they don't say can be used in your favor.
Well, if what you say is in your favor, what that means is that you will not be charged for court. So when they say what you say can be used against you in the court of law, what they mean is that, you see, at the point of arrest, there are two outcomes. If the evidence does not point in the direction of commission of an offense, the case is, the docket is closed and you are let to go. But if they have enough evidence to charge you for court, then that's when they will now use that against you. And then that one goes against you. So when it goes in your favor and you are exonerated, you are never even charged and sent to court. So at the police station, there is what we call the caution statement. And the caution statement is the initial stage. They caution you and you make a statement. They do further investigations. And if they don't have anything against you, you are let to go. And when it escalates to a charge statement, it means there's evidence against you. Then they now go back to what you said to compare that to the evidence on the ground. And when they see conflict and anything that shows that you were lying to the police to try and get away and that you are likely you are someone who possibly committed that crime and the evidence points in your direction, then they send you to court to see if they can establish proof against you. So that is what it means.
Right. So Theophilus, remember also that they actually say that you have the right to remain silent. Why don't you choose the silence bit? Can you explain to us why you tell us, that is when you were a police officer, why you tell us that we have a right to remain silent? Why do you feel we should be silent rather instead of talking?
The issue about being silent, the issue is, it's a choice, actually. You can choose to remain silent and you can choose to talk.
What's the benefit in remaining silent?
The benefit in remaining silent is that you have a right against self-incrimination. That the law allows you to kind of avoid creating problems for yourself by making certain statements that can later be used against you.
Right.
So, and you are not obliged to even speak. In fact, when you are arrested, you can keep quiet. You get to a police station, they ask you to make a statement. You can refuse to make even a statement, caution statement, whatever. You can insist on your right to silence until your day in court.
Because even when you have been put in court, by the law, you are not under obligation to say a thing until they have proved their case at the first stage. Is that not the case?
That is so.
Right. Does that also mean that when they are asking me to write something or they are asking me questions, I can decide that I don't want to answer?
You can. You can be incommunicado right from the moment of your arrest till you appear before the judge.
Okay.
You can decide, I'm not going to make any statement, I will not do anything, I'll leave them. But there are instances where people are like that, but the police still get enough evidence against them and they are convicted.
Right.
But the law allows you that. Unlike other jurisdictions. You see, our jurisdiction is that you are presumed innocent until the state proves your guilt.
Right.
So in line with that, your right to being presumed innocent, it also goes with your right to keep silent and watch them. Now, in some other jurisdictions, you better talk. Because if you don't talk, then you are presumed guilty. Okay. So ours is the English common law where these rights are being used.
That's right. Very interesting. You're still watching us. This is the law. It's your legal lights. It's your help law. And remember that last week he kept using the word cooperation, cooperativeness. I remember that. You just don't hear that the lawyers have told you that, oh, you can remain silent throughout and therefore if you ask questions, you don't talk. Sometimes when you have nothing to lose, when you have nothing to be afraid of, if you are actually innocent and there's nothing wrong, why don't you help them so that they quickly can assist you to exonerate you rather than keeping unnecessary silent and being, boastful and uncooperative. Bennett in Somenya had asked the question that he feels that police officers or law enforcement officers continue to misconduct themselves because the sanctions they get through their disciplinary process doesn't give them hefty, sanctions. What can you say about that?
That may be a generalization that may not necessarily be borne out by the facts. Sometimes people make these generalizations. I would have I'm inclined to take him much more seriously if he had said, look, I've done research on the complaints made to PIPs, the process of investigating them, and the outcomes that came out. So if somebody is able to establish that, then he may be talking rather than just based on perception. Because I am aware of several instances where policemen have been dismissed based on complaints to PIPs, which have been investigated, and the facts establish misbehavior by the police officers concerned. It happens every now and then.
They are dismissed when the offense, or the indiscipline or misconduct is an extreme one, exactly. A very serious one. But when it's not that serious, what are some of the sanctions that they face?
Some are reduced in rank, and then you can also be removed. From dismissal is the worst.
Yes.
You can be removed. When you are dismissed, you go with no benefits. You can be removed where you go with your benefits. Retirement benefits. Now, there's also reduction in rank. Then there's reduction in salary. Then there's reprimand. It's a whole lot. But depending on the seriousness of the offense, then the disciplinary authority in the police service will choose one of them to...
reduction in rank always affects your salary. Is that not so?
Oh, yes, it does. And, in the police service, it's a command type of thing. So if you are a sergeant, those who are corporals and lance corporals, constables, you command and they must obey. Now you are sergeant and you are reduced to corporal. Those that you used to command, now some of them may even be senior to you, senior corporals to you. Or at the same level.
And you have to be saluting them.
Exactly. All these things. So when they subject you to that, it's punitive enough.
Right. Okay, so too many of you want to call. Remember that we need to give Justine time to explain certain things. So we are unable to take your calls. Please hold on with the calls. We already have some questions you have brought in. We have a question from Wayo that has to be answered. We have a question from Apia in Akome. And then Justice also. Justice's question. Justice has a question about when you are being manhandled, can you also assault a policeman back? And then Sani also spoke about when they are blowing your cover as someone who is helping them. So what can I do when the police or law enforcement has breached all the things you have taught us last week and this week? They have breached our rights, breach the rules in dealing with us. What can a person do?
As I said, the best way is to keep your cool and report them to the unit that polices the police, for them to investigate it. But in the case of assaulting you, when you have submitted to the arrest, now, in that case, it's a bit of a tricky situation. You must be very careful. If they are in their numbers and you try to resist and hit back, then you may get more than what you are bargaining for. Now, if it is one-on-one and he is doing that to you, because the law avails you a right of self-defense. So you don't sit down and just allow someone to punch you to pulp. So you have a right to defend yourself, but you must be very careful. If they are in their numbers and you want to exercise your right of self-defense and then they jump upon you, you may be sorry for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do I get my complaint across to the Intelligence Bureau?
Oh, they are at Asylum Down in Accra, but in other units, in other regions, you may have to find out exactly where they are located because they have branches throughout the region. But in Accra, they are even, at first, they used to be at the headquarters. And it was a bit of a disincentive for people to walk to the headquarters and be seen going there to make complaints.
That's right.
So now they have sent it to a different office around Asylum Down to enable people walk there quietly and make their complaints, and then it is picked up and investigated.
Right. I've been there to defend citizens and also even police officers, and it's your normal process where people bring the allegations, they must bring evidence to back it, and then in the end, the assessment is made to see whether the officer is wrong or is not. Many people, however, think that because it is the police investigating their own, often there's a temptation to compromise it in favor of the police officer. What do you say to that?
It's a very much legitimate concern. In some countries, you see, in our Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau is part of the police system.
That's right.
It's the IGP who appoints who is head of that unit and all of that. And even the personnel there. And someone can even be in that unit the next time he's posted out of the unit. So they fraternize with the members of the service and that kind of thing. So imagine someone was working with a colleague, they are very close, then later he's posted to that unit and he has to turn around and investigate his friend. It becomes a bit problematic. So for that matter, in some countries, it is divorced from the police service. It stands as an independent institution on its own, and it employs not 7 personnel, but people who are ex-servicemen to work with it. And of course, an ex-serviceman who has a clean record. So they scrutinize the people that they employ, and they make sure that it's as independent as possible to be an effective check to police the police as the police polices the rest of us. So in Ghana, we still have a long way to go.
You recommend that Ghana, adopt such a system? Very
much so, because then it will be a very independent organization that exists to police the police. Okay. And it will be strengthened for that matter. Because as it is now, the unit head is under the IGP still.
Right.
So sometimes there are some of these pressures on them.
Last week you mentioned that you can actually take up a suit and the rest of them. But can I decide I don't want to go to the Intelligence Bureau, but I'll go to SHRAJ or somewhere?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there are so many police accountability systems. One is through civil suits. Civil suits is a way of getting the police to account. Because when you get a civil suit and there's judgment that against the police, and the Attorney General has to even come and defend that suit against the state, then the state has to pay money out. Now, Attorney General is one of the members of the Governing Council of the Police. That is the Police Council. So if they have to be paying money every now and then to civilians because police are misbehaving against these people and violating their rights, for which reason they have to send police to court and get judgment debts, the government will not be happy. So they will use the Police Council to rein these people in.
All right.
Apart from suing and getting such indirect control on the police, you can also go to SHRAJ, where the matter will be investigated by the SHRAJ system and justice will be given to you. After all, SHRAJ is Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice.
That's right.
So then, when there is a human rights violation or administrative injustice, and administrative injustice even includes police injustice against civilians. So SHRAJ is also one of the police accountability systems in the country. But I'm not too sure how many people use the SHRAJ system to get police misbehavior checked.
Soon we'll be hosting the SHRAJ commissioner himself on the show. We will put that question to him as to how much how far people can report to SHRAJ instead of other institutions. Like I told you, time is not our friend, but you have questions pending. Unfortunately, there are 2 of you who are still hanging on the lines. I'll take your calls. Emmanuel from Adenta, be very brief.
Yeah, my question has to do with, I would like to know, as a police officer, especially the NPPD, by what rank or any police officer at all can demand to have a look at the license, or there's a specific rank in which they have to inspect driver's license.
Francis, you are calling from Midier. Francis from Midier.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hi, go ahead.
Thank you very much for precious work that you are doing for our lovely Ghana. I would like to ask if it is permitted for a policeman to remove, like you are a driver, and the policeman says you are arrested. Is it permitted to remove your car battery and collect your driving license at the same time? And then, secondly, when policeman said you are arrested and you are trying to ask the reasons or what is the fault from your side, is it permitted for that policeman to insult you? That's what I want to know. Thank you very much.
I explained that to him. But Justin, can you emphasize that? Wayo was asking, can police just be demanding your driver's license on the road?
Yes, they can. And he even talked about the rank of the policeman.
Yeah.
Now, we must understand that our law is English law, and they also sometimes call it the common law, which we inherited from the UK. And traditionally, police powers are invested in the constable. And constable is the lowest rank in the service. So police powers are traditionally invested in the constable. But then the others, by virtue of the fact that they are also constables, but of higher rank, then they can also exercise those powers. So even in the UK, the head of the police, they call him the chief constable.
Okay.
So the rest are all constables. So the power is invested in the constable, who is of the lowest rank, and he can exercise it, and others can also exercise it.
Okay, so that is addressing Wayo in Nungwa and then Emmanuel, who just called from Adenta about the rank. But Francis in Media was also added, if they take your license, can they also proceed to remove your car battery?
Well, removing the car battery is a bit problematic. They can impound the car. So, I mean, what's the point in going to remove the car battery when you can impound the whole car?
They want to immobilize the car. They want to immobilize the car. So either they take the key from you or they remove the battery.
Okay. All right. Maybe part of the process of impounding the car to make sure you don't take it.
And under what circumstance can that happen? That they take your license and then want to do something to your car as well? Is Justin's line freezing? Okay, Justin's line is frozen. But remember, the last week he explained that unless the car itself, the vehicle, is the subject of the crime, then they are not going to be asking to impound the car or anything. But if the vehicle itself is the subject of the crime, then they can proceed in that direction. So Francis in Media, Emmanuel in Adenta, and also Wayo in Nungwa, your responses have come for you. Let's now see Justice in Tamale and Sani, Justice in Techiman and Sani in Tamale. Is Justin back? Justice wanted to know if he can assault a police officer for manhandling him upon arrest. Yes, Justin?
Well, to say you are assaulting him, I would say you shouldn't try it. Well, to assault someone is been a crime. You have a right of self-defense against assault. So when someone is assaulting you, you rather have the right to defend yourself against the assault. And it's irrespective of who that person is. Because when the police arrest you and you submit, they have no right to use force against you when you have submitted. Right. So when they are doing that, then they are assaulting you. And the law gives you the right to defend yourself. But as I said before, you have to be very careful how you go about that. Because then it can result in something.
He may be holding a gun. You don't have a gun.
Exactly.
Right.
So things like that, it can escalate and then you'll be worse off.
Right.
So the best way is comply, talk to him, use your words to make him behave properly, and then you report him to PIPS. When you report him to PIPS, that's the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Unit. They will give you, especially when it's about a case that the police have manhandled you, they brutalized you. They give you a medical form to go to the hospital, and you will be examined, and a report will be given against that police officer, and that will become a piece of evidence for his trial and his disciplinary trial. So you have to be very careful how you go about it.
All right. Maybe this final one from Sani in Tamale. Police, he's talking about people getting information, giving police leads, and the next time you realize that the police themselves are rather informing the suspects and disclosing, as it were, blowing the cover of the informants. He's asking, what can we do about that situation? I'm going to inform the police about something, and then, you know, those I'm blowing the whistle on rather get to know, and they escape.
That is a form of misbehavior by the police the police officers involved. The police work thrives on informants. So most of the time, in criminal investigations, they value informants, people who inform them, and they are under duty to protect the identity of their informants. So when they blow your cover as an informant, it's a reason for which you can report to the unit police is the police. So any type of misbehavior or unprofessional conduct by a policeman concerning you, you can report and the matter will be looked into. So it's clearly unprofessional for them to blow your cover.
Right.
It undermines the work.
Great. So in the last minute before we sign off, what will be your very final word to our audience and also to police officers who are watching and listening, including the police hierarchy that is listening and watching us this very moment? My guest has been Justine Pawvra Terwaja. He is a police officer turned an astute legal brain in this country, and he also teaches the law as he practices. Your very final words, sir.
My final words to the citizenry is that you should comply and cooperate with the police. And also, don't forget that when they misbehave, you can always report them. And you should try to remind them anytime they begin to misbehave, when they are stepping out of bounds, as soon as possible, let them know that you know your rights and you take it up against them. It makes a lot of them sit up. I've seen cases like that because, I mean, I'm now a civilian. Sometimes I meet policemen on the way, and when they begin to misbehave, because they may not know who I am, then I just tell them that, look, I know my rights very well. You can't do this with me. And then they look at me again and they sit up. So it's about telling them that, look, they can't misbehave, they can't do this, they can't do that. It's contrary to the rules, and that there will be consequences if they proceed that way. It makes a lot of them sit up. And to the police administration, they know what I know, so there's little I can say. I know sometimes some of them work under constraints because there's political pressure. And as I said, even with the unit police is the police. It is not completely independent of the powers that be. So sometimes there are interferences in their work, or there's some interference in their work. So it becomes a bit of a difficulty. But
all right, Justine's Zoom just got frozen, but that's where time will allow us. That's all time will allow us. Justine Pawvra Terwaja is a former police officer and now a legal practitioner and teacher. He was helping us with sanctioning police indiscipline. And I suppose you have learned a lot. Please don't forget the very significant lessons that you have been given. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. This has been The Law. This is your legal light and help law. God willing, we'll come your way next week, same time.